What's up, Fox10 Fox here, and today we are talking about the i5-11600K's graphics performance in 2021. Now, before I do talk about this, I want to say that you called me out, and I deserve to be called out because my last videos, the 11600K and 11400, showed very inaccurate MSI afterburner 1% and 0.1% lows. That wasn't me making guesswork, that's what the benchmark showed up with, but they seemed uncharacteristically low, so I made those unlisted, and I wanted to give you accurate information. Because that's what this channel is all about. If you can't trust me to recommend a graphics card to you, then what's the point of watching my channel? So I want to say that from this video moving on, I will be doing a much more rigorous testing to make sure that the benchmarks are accurate to the actual gameplay I have played myself without benchmark software running in the background. But with that said, the i5-11600K is a 6-core 12-threaded chip with a base frequency of 3.9 GHz and a max boost of 4.9 GHz. It is overclockable, but the graphics I did today just were at stock speeds. I didn't find any importance in overclocking them because I got a real lemon on my Intel 11600K. So if other people are getting lemons because of the silicone shortage, I just wanted to show you the very base frequency. But with that said, the processor graphics are Intel UHD Graphics 750, which have a graphics base frequency of 350 MHz and a graphics max dynamic frequency of 1.3 GHz. This chip is a power sucker with a recommended TDP of 125 watts, and I was running with 32 gigs of RAM at 3200 MHz. So let's get into the game. First up with Skyrim Special Edition. At the low settings at 1080p, we saw an average frame rate of 43 FPS with a 1% low of 26 and a 0.1% low of 10. That 10 shows that there were some micro stutters, however, they were few and far between, but there definitely were some here and there. But off of a graphics chip on a CPU, I'm just very impressed that Skyrim Special Edition ran at 43 FPS on average. GTA 5 next had an average frame rate of 32 with a 1% low of 25 and a 0.1% low of 17. We had everything on the normal settings, but we were playing at full 1080p, and considering this is like a console-like quality of the Xbox 360 or even Xbox One and PS4, I am very impressed that this little chip has made it this far with GTA 5. Even though it's an easy game to run by today's standards, I am absolutely floored because this was in online mode, no less. So you're talking about the casino and everything else that is very demanding on hardware, returning with an average frame rate of 32. And we decided to throw it back a little bit with Gary's Mod. I was playing on a Minecraft map that had some very nice lighting effects, but it's a Trouble in Terrorist Town map, and the average frame rate was unsurprisingly 72 FPS with a 1% low of 48 and a 0.1% low of 25. Of course, this could just be the map, but there were some micro stutters in this game as well. But we were running it at 1080p with everything on the ultra settings, which was very impressive. And Fallout 4 on the low settings had an average frame rate of 33 FPS with a 1% low of 14 and a 0.1% low of 10. This game had much more issues than Skyrim Special Edition, and it definitely had quite a bit more stutter as well. But with that said, if you are comfortable with 1080p on the low settings, then this game will run very well for you. Shadow of the Tomb Raider next, and we were not able to get it to run at 30 FPS at 720p. We saw an average frame rate of just under 28, averaging down to 27, with a 1% low of 20 and a 0.1% low of 11. I feel like you could definitely get away with playing this game with the render resolution set down a little bit more, but I wasn't going to fiddle with that today because honestly 720p is as low as I would be willing to go. So I'm going to have to give it the unplayable seal of disapproval. But to give you some whiplash, Gears 5 ran very well. I tried it at 900p and was not able to average 30 FPS, and there was a whole lot of stutter at 900p. Going down to 720p helped things out a lot and pretty much eliminated all the stutter I was seeing at 900p. With everything on the low settings at 720p, Gears 5 had an average frame rate of 40 FPS with a 1% low of 33 and a 0.1% low of 29. So a very smooth game throughout, and I am very impressed at how well it ran. It looks like it was an Xbox 360 game, but the fact that you're able to go from one of the most beautiful looking games of all time to running on a integrated GPU on a CPU is absolutely impressive, and I very much commend the coalition for optimizing this game for many different PCs. Rainbow Six next, with everything on the low settings at 900p, ran a little worse than I thought it would, with an average frame rate of 58 and a 1% low of 46, with a 1% low of 44. So, despite the fact that this frame rate was lower than I thought it would be, it ran very well and was very smooth throughout the entirety of the gameplay session, and I would have no trouble playing this game at this resolution with these very nice frames. And last but not least, the most recent game, unsurprisingly, ran terribly. If you can look past the pixels and squint hard enough, this is Outriders at 720p with an 80% resolution scale, and it just looks like an absolute blocky mess. With an average frame rate of 28, we weren't even able to get it close to 30 without having to drop it all the way down to 50% or less resolution scaling, so there was just no point. Another unplayable seal of disapproval with a 1% low of 4 and a 0.1% low of 3. Outriders is not optimized, and because you are putting so much strain on the CPU, it seems like the texture streaming or something was really chugging along in this game, and there was a whole lot of stutter whenever you entered a new level on the map. That, and one of the missions was to sleep. Like, I'm halfway through the game, and one of the missions is to rest in my bed. Anyway, those were all the games that I had to play today, and I have to say that this 11600K really impressed me. It's definitely not a 60 FPS chip for AAA titles, but the fact that some AAA titles are worthy to run at 30 FPS, I was so surprised at Gears 5, y'all. It's free on Game Pass. If you got a low-end system, just play some Gears 5. It's a great game. Skyrim, I'm very surprised ran as well as it did. GTA 5, I'm very surprised it ran as well as it did. Back in the day, GTA 5 was hard to run. I mean, it was really, really hard to run on the 9 series graphics cards. They really optimized it, and I am super impressed. And I am just very impressed by this chip. If you're looking for integrated graphics, I'm sure it's not that different on the 11400 either. So if you're really getting into gaming on a budget without a graphics card, even though AMD's offerings are probably better, I think that Intel's offerings are quite solid as long as you get them at a good enough price. Which is why I'd recommend the 11400 if you want to get some Intel integrated graphics. And with that said, though, I had a wonderful time benchmarking this CPU. And if you want to see more videos, please subscribe down below. If you liked it, like, subscribe, do what you usually do, and as always, buy yourself something nice.